Well, as we see from all the problems in the world as well, I think collaboration is one of the ways that we solve that by just having conversations. It's why this event is so important, because we get together with our peers to debate, discuss, challenge each other's ideas, because that's also important for collaboration. So I think now is the time that we're needing more collaboration than ever. I think one of the things that the pandemic was good, that it taught us, was what is possible when we collaborate to design new drugs and different products and different things, and we help each other. It's one of our things of our humanity. And so now the interesting area is not just about how we collaborate with other people, but how we collaborate with machines. And that's the really interesting time that we're in. I would say other things around our empathy that we have for people, which is that ability to listen and to put ourselves in the shoes of other people and think, what is that like? And I think actually great salespeople are very good at this. They can understand how their customer, they're asking lots of questions. And I think with creativity, the thing that goes alongside it is curiosity. And that's what we're good at, humans. Like, well, if you think about many AI systems, they're very good at just doing things that we've been doing in the past as humans. But to create anything new, like really new, it's us. Whether that's art, new products and services, new ways of doing things, new politics, all different things, it requires us. And that starts with our humanity of asking questions and wanting to know how the other person is thinking and that person's thinking to change our thinking. I am optimistic. I know there's enough doom and gloom in the world, but I'm probably more optimistic. I would say that the biggest worry that a lot of people have is, will my job be replaced by an AI? And I said, that's kind of the wrong question. The main thing to think about is that your job will not be replaced by an artificial intelligence necessarily, but it will almost certainly be replaced by a human that's using artificial intelligence. So that's the different way of thinking about it. So I'm optimistic. I think we have to put in guardrails because there are ethical implications of some of these things that we're doing as well. But it's good because people are talking about these things now. If you think about the invention of the internet, when people were doing the internet, these conversations weren't happening early on in the internet. But here, now we realize how powerful, especially AI and machine learning is. We're having these conversations, and it's a global conversation that's happening as well. I think with any technology, there's always an adjustment period. If you look at the Industrial Revolution, there was a period of about 20 years where a lot of jobs were lost. Some new jobs weren't being created yet. We had the rise of the Luddites. People would literally go around and smash the machines up because they were so anti-technology at that point. But then people found the equilibrium. New jobs were created. People found ways to live alongside it. So I think there will be a period of time, maybe 20 years, where it will cause chaos in places, conflict in others. For example, what happens when we have higher levels of unemployment because some of these technologies are taking away a lot of jobs? Well, it's the role of government and companies to then create new jobs, new opportunities. But there will be this period, this delay, where we may need to have things like universal basic income and different experiments, so people are taken care of through this time of transition. I think the main thing is to explain, to teach. You think about the difference between, let's say, someone that's 13, 14 years of age with technology as opposed to someone that's much older. For them, they're natives. The younger, this is just what it is. They're having to think about this. So I think what's interesting now is you're seeing the rise of things like cobots, collaborative robots, where in the past, robotics, if you went to a big factory making a car, there would be these separate rooms where the robots would operate. A human couldn't go in those rooms. And people were worried about that big machine taking their job. Now what you have is on the factory floor, you have that cobot, that robot working alongside the human. But there's all these new jobs now. Who is going to train the robot? Who's going to teach? Who is going to make sure it's optimizing the robot? There's all these new jobs that will be created. We think just now things like ChatGPT is being talked about a lot. All these new jobs, prompters. This job didn't exist just now. We're filming this just today, but social media marketers, when did that come along? So it's going to be a time of transition. So what I would say is think about this from a historical perspective. 100 years ago, 1923, the world's recovering after the First World War. In Europe, the Spanish flu pandemic, 50 million people had died. But what we saw next was one of the greatest periods of innovation in science, technology, manufacturing, music, art, literature. So cities like New York, Cairo, Shanghai, they boomed during this time. But interestingly, some places didn't work so well. So for example, somewhere like London, where I'm from, it didn't have a roaring 1920s. Well, why was that? Why did London not have this boom time, and yet New York and Chicago did? Well, it was because the businesses in New York, Paris, Shanghai, they were willing to embrace the discomfort of the new. They were like, we don't know exactly where this is going, but this is where it's moving this way. We need to understand how it works. We need to be part of that conversation. And they use this technology not just to go faster and further, but to take things to a whole new level that people couldn't even imagine. So that's the opportunity, is to change your thinking about looking at this as one of the greatest periods of opportunity for any business at any time. If we think about someone, Felipe was mentioning electricity, the invention of electricity. Think about it. Yes, companies that invented electricity and designed it, or the systems, they made money, but the real companies, money was made by all those companies that said, we do this, but what happens when we apply electricity and augment our business with electricity? Suddenly all these new businesses were created, all these millions and millions and millions of jobs were created. So that's the opportunity. Today is AI, and we need to think about how can what we do today be augmented with AI? How can we make better, more valuable to our customers? So there's certain industries, now I was talking about this today, about different industries that are going to go faster than others. Probably the first industry that was going for it was financial services, because banks, hedge funds, their data is very it's ordered. It's very ordered data, so they could do it more easily. So they took advantage of these AI technologies many years. But probably the next level, I would say, is going to be around healthcare. It's going to be around education, and it's going to be about retail. Those will be the big opportunities, which is actually the strands I know at this event. Those are the different things. So if I was an investor or someone thinking about AI, I think about how to deploy my assets, which industries I would go for, those would probably be the first three I would think about. What an amazing event. I mean, it just goes to show that when people come together, amazing things can happen. I mean, think about it. In this event, people are having conversations about new initiatives, new projects, new business that might only start to flourish in a year's time. But what's great is you have that sense of us being together, what we call, I said today about this idea of a third place, where we come together to debate, discuss, challenge each other's ideas. So events like this are so important, because this is where innovation comes from. It comes from having that conversation with a colleague over a beer or wine, and that's why people come to events like this, why it's so important.
Thank you, James.